Israeli politics is notoriously complicated, even by the standards of other democracies. Now, for the fifth time since 2019, Israelis are voting in national elections, hoping to break the political deadlock that has paralyzed the country for the past 3.5 years. How will this impact the elections?
Yes, well, that's right. You know, you could be a 21-year-old Israeli and you are voting in a national election for the, in fact, fifth time, because it's less than 4 years. So you could have voted first just after your 18th birthday, and you can still be 21 and voting for the fifth time. Look, most people in other democracies of that age may not have had the opportunity to vote at all. It is, in fact, a kind of crazy situation. Other countries are divided, but the choice is more binary. So, for example, yesterday there was the national election in Brazil, and there was a straight choice between Lula and Bolsonaro. A week from now, we have the American midterms. There's a choice between Republican and Democrat. But in Israel, there are 39 parties to choose from. So you go into the voting booth, and there are these 39 piles of paper. You pick one, you put it in an envelope, and you vote. And because you only need 3% of the vote, a political party, to enter the Knesset, it is expected that at least 11 or 12 parties will enter. This is bringing gridlock, and that is why nobody can form a stable government. And the last government had, I think, 7 different parties in the coalition. It took months to form, and we may have another situation like that now. So it's in a way too democratic. It's not good for any democracy to have a situation a little bit, you know, it's a little bit like that movie, Groundhog Day, if people are familiar with that film, where the day repeats itself again and again and again, and we're kind of stuck in a time loop. So it is very unpredictable, this election. The most likely thing we can say, though, is it won't be the end of the matter, and there will be another election a few months from now.
Arab Israeli parties could decide whether Benjamin Netanyahu makes a comeback, and much of that depends on Palestinian voter turnout. Do you think the Palestinians could bring change to the Israeli vote?
Yes, so turnout is very, very important in this election. Because people are tired and jaded with politics, the turnout is expected to be low, and it will probably be much lower among Arab Israelis, Palestinian Israelis, than among Jewish or Druze Israelis. In fact, a lot of the newspaper headlines I was just looking at concentrate on that. Here we have Israel's main newspaper. I don't know if you can see the headline. It's about Arab turnout. Arab parties fear low voter turnout. Lots of papers have been encouraging Arab votes. Here's interviews with different Arab Israelis who have a choice of different parties, either one of the 4 or 5 specifically Arab Israeli parties, or many Palestinian Israelis vote for the predominantly Jewish parties because they're not voting on sectoral issues, they're voting on who will run the economy best or other such issues. The reason that the threshold is so important, the voter turnout, is that even a slight dip in voter turnout means that the bigger parties, which would mean Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud, which is the biggest party, will climb above a threshold. On the other hand, a large Arab turnout could mean some of the smaller Jewish parties get less than 3%, and then their votes are in effect wasted. They don't enter the Knesset, and that means that, again, the Likud party could actually benefit from a higher Arab turnout, which reduces the left-wing Jewish overall turnout. So sorry if that sounds a bit complicated. It is extremely complicated. In fact, another headline from the front page of today's newspaper, here it is, it says 8 scenarios for the election based on the prediction of pollsters. That's generous to say there are only 8 possible outcomes. In fact, there are more than 8. It is so complicated that it is almost impossible even for experts to really get their head around it. And it is a kind of gridlock of democracy. But as you pointed out, The threshold is important. The different turnouts in different sectors, not just the Arab sector. Will ultra-Orthodox Jews turn out as before? They vote as a bloc. Will, a lot of new immigrants, Jewish immigrants from Russia and Ukraine have arrived? Will they vote? So there are all kinds of factors, and very, very small margins can make a difference to the outcome, since polls are showing that the party supportive of a comeback for Benjamin Netanyahu, the former prime minister, he's literally on 60 mandates of the 120. So just a tiny bit extra, he goes to 61, and he could form a government, though I'm not sure that a government with a one-seat majority will be a stable government that will last.